All right, welcome into the first ever episode of Bogeys and Blue Crabs. I'm your host, Max Salzman, and today I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Alme All Day. Alme, how we doing?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for asking, Max.
So we've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm really excited to get this going. But we both have worked in golf. We play a lot of golf. We have a lot of golf information that I know we want to talk about. So briefly, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Alme Allday. I am a Gen Xer female, love to play golf. I have been playing golf for almost 30 years. When I first had my first corporate job, everyone was playing golf and I wanted to be included. So I ended up taking lessons and then fell in love with it, fell out of love with it, and then fell back in love with it. So as I get older, it is a wonderful sport to make friends and just have a really good time.
It's really exciting how, me being actually a Gen Zer and a male, you know, growing up playing golf, we can have similar experiences, but in drastically different times in our life. And I think that's what's really interesting about this whole setup is understanding those connections, but also highlighting those differences as well. So, where would you say you play a majority of your golf nowadays?
So as you know, Max, we actually met through golf at Sligo Creek Golf Course in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I don't remember exactly how we met, but it was definitely through a sport that we both love. And I would say that the majority of my golf, though, is in Montgomery County, Maryland. There's lots of golf courses near us, so you'll find me at many of the courses within Montgomery County. But I do play wherever.
So, first off, I just want to ask, when you are playing with your playing partners, how many mulligans would you say you give them per round?
I would say I give mulligans, the front nine and the back nine, one per, the front or back. But that's it. And then I kind of, like give you a hard time if you try to take a mulligan on a par three. Not it seems silly.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, every now and then, well, I guess I got to ask you this question to start. Is a breakfast ball a mulligan?
That's a good question. Okay, yes. I'll just say yes. And then you can take a lunch ball, maybe a dinner one.
So if listen, I'm not the most straight up golfer in the world. We're here having a good time. We're not playing on tour. But if you're dropping a ball every 2 holes or you're dropping a ball, every couple of swings, what are we doing here? To me, while breakfast balls are great and all, that is your mulligan. If we're playing a match, that's your mulligan. There's no question about it. And if we're just out there to have a good time, well, then we should set that up on the first tee. If you're working on your game, that's different than coming out here trying to play a match, in my opinion. So I say one aside is fine. If you're a plus 10, if we're starting to get into the single digit handicaps, I think 1 per 18 is a little bit better, a little bit fairer. And then if we're playing a team match, if it's match play or anything like that, I think it's just, you got to play straight up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that for me, when it comes to golf, I'm big pace of play person. So giving people too many mulligans really slows the game up and the tempo. So I definitely only want my playing partners to have one in the front nine and one in the back nine. And sometimes you don't even realize like your player B is going to be just as bad as the player A who hit the mulligan. So that's it. One per front nine, one per back. That's it.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, everybody says you want to use your mulligans well, but as we know, golf is all about recovering from bad shots. So even when you do put that second ball down and you hit a bad shot, it's about how you can recover. And I think that's what a lot of beginners don't really understand at the beginning of playing. Bad shots are completely inevitable. I mean, working at the golf course for a long time, you realize just how many beginners are really out there and how they need to be treated a certain way where there's the understanding of the golf etiquette while also still learning the game at the same time. So I think certain places do a really great job of that. And, the more you play, the more you understand that there might be places where maybe you shouldn't play as a beginner. And that's all right as well. What are your thoughts on that?
In regards to beginner golfers,
Beginner golfers in pace of play situations.
okay. So, as you know, Max, I coach little kids for a not for profit organization in the area. And we definitely teach them, uh, definitely pace of play. We teach walk and talk, uh, which means always be ready. So, when it comes to playing golf, it really is more fun when you're moving it along. So, yeah. And you're not the only paying player on the course. There are people behind you, there are people ahead of you. So it's really important that people have an understanding of the golf etiquette too. So it I will also say when it comes to beginners, you don't always have to hit from the tee box. So if you are a beginner and you want to learn but you're too intimidated, when you're playing with your playing partners or maybe your spouse, then you can just say, "Hey, I'm going to take it to the fairway, maybe 150 or 100 out, and I'll just play from there." Or you can play best ball with your playing partners. So there have been times where at the beginning of, well, not necessarily at the beginning of when I first started playing golf, but there are moments even when I'm playing with my husband and I'm not having a good day. Like everything is, I'm drawing, I'm fading, it's horrible, and so I'll just say, "Hey, I'm moving forward. I'm moving beyond the tee box. I'm going to the fairway, and I am purposely going to just work on 100 in." And it's okay. I just tell my playing partners, even strangers, if I'm playing with them, like, "Hey, if you guys don't mind, just so I can keep up the pace of play and I'm not having a good day," eh, because it can be mentally draining. I just take it for, I mean, I take it forward. I don't know how other people feel about sometimes when I do that, but it also helps not being frustrated for 4 hours. That doesn't happen as often as it used to happen, but I would say to beginners, it's okay. Just you don't have to start from the tee box. You can start forward. Even with kids, start forward 150 yards just so that they have fun too. Or you know, it just depends.
Yeah, and for me, I don't see any issue with people playing from where they feel comfortable. I think people should not I think you see too many beginners trying playing the tips. Just straight up, you see them playing with playing partners, maybe playing from boxes that they maybe shouldn't, but you get this idea that you're not ready for. And I think it really impacts their experience. So you said something during that section that I really think was really, really something I wanted to hone in on. And that was playing with little kids, building this etiquette. Have you seen kind of post COVID with golf getting more popular, this kind of new golfer coming in that doesn't really understand the etiquette or maybe is maybe a little louder, more flamboyant on the golf course?
Yeah, that. Oh wow, Max. Okay, so it's a little bit easier to teach uh, kids etiquette because they're just learning. Now, if we're talking about an adult coming out to play, usually their friends will kindly or gently remind them, "Hey, you can't hit like three balls off the tee box." Uh, um, I mean, I've seen between you and I and every golfer who's listening has seen it all. We've seen anger management issues. We've seen people super, super duper slow play. We've seen, and this is not me. I don't care if my ball ends up in the woods. I will not go in there and start looking for more golf balls and try to pull out Pro V1s because I know they're in there somewhere. I like pace of play, so I have a tendency to look for about a hot second, and if I can't find it, I drop and then I hit from there. So these are little things that I think beginners sometimes do forget, like how long to look in the trees and the woods and the bushes. I think also, yeah, pace of play is huge when it comes to beginners, but nothing, like I said, if you can just, how would I say this? I remember going to a golf course and asking the starter for any tips at a course that I never played before. And he said, which I use now because I also work at a golf course, if you play bad, play fast.
I love that quote. That's such a great quote.
So, yeah. So, when it comes to, I mean, like I said, this could be a whole entire episode about etiquette. There's just so many things to talk about when it comes to that. But, I will say it over and over again. For me, it's pace of play. Nobody wants to be out there for 6 hours. Nobody. It's really fun when you can also run your errands after or have more time with your friends to have a beer and something to eat after. So it can be a long day if people aren't how would I say this, being more aware of the other people on the course playing as well.
Yeah, and I think working at the golf course, we have a unique understanding of kind of the behind the scenes things. So we really felt the impact of the new golfers kind of coming in post COVID, being one of the only things that were open. You see a new wave, and it's fantastic. I think the game is growing at a rate that we've never seen before. A lot of social media has given access that has never before been, allowed. So there's this new connection to golfers that maybe hasn't really been there in the past. Having said that, I do think that there is a little lack of etiquette when it comes to this kind of new golfer, but I think that comes from not really being taught the right way. I think there's a lack of people who really want to teach these new golfers how to do things the right way. Fix your divots when the ball comes into the green is the number one thing that I see. But, knowing and teaching them, okay, here's how your partner's on this side of the fairway, you're on that side of the fairway, drop him off with your cart, go to your ball. Just these little things that they really don't understand. Don't park your car in the middle and then walk in opposite directions. That is my number one pet peeve on a golf course is when they leave the cart in the middle of the fairway and they walk up to their ball to go chip. And then they both realize that they both did the same thing and they run back to the cart. And yeah, anyway, we've all been there. We know it. And it's part of the experience. And again, it's great that the game is growing at this rate. I just think we need to be understanding, a little bit more compassionate, a little bit more patient, and I think the game will reach new heights. So moving on, I want to talk about how golf is really about recovering from bad shots, and I think the most important aspect is really controlling the mind. You know, and we talk about having mental tools. What would your best mental tool all may be for when you're hitting a bad shot or after you hit a bad shot?
Okay, so when it comes to hitting bad shots, if you ever get a chance to play with me, I would consider myself the joyful golfer. I really don't get that upset after a bad shot. I actually start laughing, almost giggling after I hit something bad because I'm fully aware that if I get angry, I will tense. So if I tense, then the next shot is probably going to be worse. So I giggle when it's, I mean, let's define a bad shot because somebody's bad shot is not mine.
Would you say, left or right? Is your miss kind of heel side? Are you catching it off the hosel? Or are you more kind of like early extension and topping the ball?
Well, okay, so definitely there are moments where I'm topping the ball. And when I top the ball, I would say that that comes from not, okay, so golf, you have to be very present. It is the only thing I feel like it's quiet out there, you're not on your phone. And there are a lot of thoughts going on in your head, of course, because you want every shot to be flush, like amazing. So if you're not really concentrating, then a lot of little tiny things that are happening in your setup could possibly make your ball go in whatever direction, correct?
Hmm.
So when it comes to the mental part of like a bad shot, or what I would consider for myself a bad shot, like I said, I just laugh. I laugh it off. And I remember the first time that somebody ever noticed me laughing was I had a I had I was playing golf with a junior golfer who was getting ready to, I think she was probably middle school, maybe, and she plays in tournaments. So I went out there with her parents to play, and I hit a bad shot and I started laughing. And she had never seen anyone laugh after a bad shot. And she was like, "Hey, Coach Alme, why did you laugh?" And I said, "Because it's done. Like, there's nothing I can do about that shot other than go back in there and recover by not thinking about that shot. This is golf. Golf, you just you try to move forward like you do in life, and you are allowed at every shot to think about what that is supposed to look like next. You're also allowed to think about what would happen if this didn't go well that way. And that's later. Maybe we could talk about course management in another episode. But she just was like, I had never seen anyone laugh after a shot, a poor shot. And I said, well, you can't take yourself seriously out here. And when you're out and playing your tournament, don't take yourself that serious out there too. Just have a great time and just really enjoy the journey of being able to play at a competitive level. Because this might just be for now. You might end up loving the other sport she played, which was lacrosse. So yeah, I really don't think you can think about it too much. Now, if it's definitely a weakness of yours, whatever that shot was that was for you, then when you're done or on a weekend, go and work on that. Just, and I really suggest that people meet up with their instructors often so that those things can be assessed and fixed. So you're not trying to figure it out all the time. And we watch tons of YouTube videos, I'm sure, and you're learning. But I think it's really important to have a really good instructor so that they can fix these really bad tendencies before you end up taking them into like your 80s, which is fine. At 80, you don't even care. But if you want the next 25, 30 years to really improve, then yes, please, please, please sign up with a wonderful instructor, so a PGA professional, and find out what those little things that are going on with the yips in your game. So that's my suggestion.
I can't agree more. As somebody who, for years, you know, transitioning, I'm originally a baseball player, as a lot of kids were. Golf was later on, but around in my life. It never really grabbed me as a kid as it did when I was in my late teen years and early adult. But I think, you know, what's so amazing is golf really gives you such a transparent view of life, of dealing with these challenges and learning how to do it a number of different ways. Because there's so many different ways you can hit a shot, there's so many different ways that you can play a golf hole. But it's so important to take lessons and have somebody who's been trained in these small nuances to really not maybe completely change, but really tweak. I think a lot of beginners and a lot of people, they don't really want to go and take lessons because they think they're so bad that this coach is going to completely change everything they're doing. And that's really not what good coaches do. They take what you have in your background and they really tweak it to make it work for you. And no golf swing is the same. It's like a fingerprint. It's
Hmm.
personal to you. And I think that's what these teaching pros really have the ability to do. And really, if people are listening, they have great teaching pros in the area. Alme has great connections to a ton of different teaching pros that are fantastic and they really can get your game right. So I think this is really good topic because I am your classic fiery golfer. I try to use mental tools when I'm on the golf course, but hitting bad shots happens, but man, is it frustrating when you hit good shots and it doesn't necessarily work out for you. And that's also part of the game. You're going to hit great shots and it's not going to end up the way that you want. I remember playing over the wintertime down in Florida. I had 119 into a pin and I hit a great wedge right off the bat. I knew it was going to be tight, and it actually ended up not only hitting the flag stick, but it hit the lip of the hole, ricochets off the front of the green about 40 feet, and I ended up making double. I duffed the chip because I'm super frustrated. I bladed across the green and I two putt, make double. Go from eagle to double. And that's golf. And I just vividly remember taking a minute and I grabbed my driver and I walked. And that's what I tend to do is I let my partner take the cart and I'll go for a nice walk, kind of trying to calm myself down, remember the feelings of the good swings. I have a couple of mental checkpoints that I go through in my swing. And if I'm swinging well, the results are what they may, let it be what it be. So, what are some tips for me as somebody who gets very frustrated when I hit good shots and don't get the results that I want? What tools could I use to maybe progress this mental battle?
Well, no, I think the fact that you had some awareness there about having your playing partner just take the cart and you walking, like that's just enough there to kind of like let the steam out a little, right? And you getting upset about that particular shot, yes, you went from an eagle to a double, just means that you care about the way you play. Like it's really, I feel like golfers are getting upset because, well, yes, that one amazing shot brings you back. But I think it's also that we're just, when it comes to this game, we just want to, let's be honest, everyone wants to be as good as the people we see on TV. And sometimes we make that comparison. And recreational golfers are not. That's why we're called recreational golfers and not professionals. So I think that it's different for everyone when it comes to, you know, cooling down after a shot, but I would definitely say don't dwell on that shot because it just is, right? And I've played with you before, Max. I've actually seen you hit from a fairway. What was that shot over at Whiskey Creek? Do you remember? And you holed out from the fairway. And I think that was an eagle, right? Like we were looking for that ball and no one ever looked in the hole until we finally looked in the hole. It was just great. It was amazing. I don't remember which hole it was. I don't know what club you used. I mean, you will, because most golfers who love this game can memorize the temperature, the course, the club, the yardage. I mean, they can memorize everything about that day. But if their spouse asks them to like pick up milk from the grocery store, they won't even remember that.
Yeah, I remember it was a 3 iron from about 205 out, Whiskey Creek hole number 7,
Yeah.
back up the hill. Great golf course, by the way. Shout out Whiskey Creek. They do a miraculous job out there. If you ever get the chance to play it, it's a great golf course. Um, for me, as you were saying, trying your very hardest to not let one shot affect, the next one and turn, you know, what probably should have been a par into a double. And the mental battle is always going to be there. So, you do your best, but I think also you're absolutely right with your point of tabling your expectations a little bit. We all watch a ton of golf. We love it. We're addicted to it. But trying to compare what we do to the pros is ridiculous. These guys on TV and these girls on TV are so good. They hit so many balls every day. They are so dialed. It does nothing to your psyche to try and even compare the two. So while I love watching golf, I think especially this year, doing, little side games like tracking greens in regulation. How many fairways do you hit? Those are a little bit more realistic expectations that you can really track your golf round with. And I think that's another thing that maybe we could get into a little bit here is what are some ways that beginners can really track their golf, maybe not score wise, that can really be beneficial to them?
Yeah. So I like I don't, okay. So my scorecard always has the 3 rows are where you score your total score, right? Your,
Sure. So your
okay,
score on the hole.
on the score on the whole. And then just in the same box, then a little number on the bottom corner there with my putts. Okay. And then the next two blank boxes below, one is for GIR, greens in regulation, and the next one is fairway.
So why don't you explain to the listeners that are maybe beginners that don't know what a GIR is or a green in reg? What is that?
Yeah, so green in regulation, for instance, if you are hitting a par 4, you will hit right off the tee box. That's your drive or whatever club you use. Then you're going to hit it in the fairway. That's your second shot. And then mostly courses are designed where you will two putt from the green. So green in regulation means if that's a par 4, that you've hit your second shot onto the green. So if it's a par 5, you've hit your third shot into the green. And if you're on a par 3, it's one shot onto the green and then two putts. So when it comes to my scorecard and how I like to gauge how I play, I can tell you, I don't even know why I haven't fixed this yet, but a fairway for me is you put a check under for the word fairway, and then if you go right or left of the fairway, you put an arrow left, an arrow right. Sometimes you could put an arrow. Sometimes you don't make it to the fairway. I've seen that in my own game sometimes, and you put an arrow down. So, and then when it comes to the greens in regulation, you either put okay, for green in regulations, either a checkbox, left, right, or down. So down means you were short of the green. Left and right means you were either left or right of the green during that next shot. Okay. So for me, if you took all my scorecards, I am always short. But what happens is because I love putting, sometimes I one putt. So I like chip in, I, whatever it may be. But that's how mine looks. And I probably need to I know what I need to do. We all know what we need to do. I am afraid that if I go long, then now I got to readjust, like going the opposite direction, if that makes sense. But now that I'm saying it, it's more mental.
So what's up with that stigma? Because I know and I talk and I play with a ton of people, and I would say majority of the handicappers that are a 10 to a 15, they're always short. Why? What's the fear of going long? I mean, I don't think one club, you play and you hit enough golf balls that you go one club, you can control that. It's a more controlled swing. But I don't see you being, a launch it 20 yards over the green player,
Yeah. Okay. You make a good point, Max. You're right. I probably wouldn't launch it 20 over. Probably not. So maybe this year I work on getting those arrows to go, either that arrow turns into a checkbox or that arrow turns into a long, and then figure it out. Because maybe I can, I don't know. That's really good. I'm sitting here thinking about it. And I'm like, gee, what is that? And I will tell you, the stack of scorecards will tell you I'm short. And maybe it's because I also have a tendency to know where my sweet spot is on that second shot, or second shot on a par 4. So now I'm thinking like, okay, so I do not like to do flop shots chipping.
No,
0 for me.
Don't open that face.
So I'm more of a bump and run gal. I know how to use my 8 and 9 iron from shorter distances, depending on that distance, of course, and then let that ball roll all the way out as close as possible to the hole. But yeah, there is some room for improvement. I think there's room for improvement for all golfers. But okay, Max, we're going to go play and you're going to remind me to go long.
Well, that's my thing. And, I have a great golf coach who has been fantastic for my game. And he always says, you got 14 in the bag. You got 14 in the bag. And, let me also say this to all the listeners. There is a lot of ways to play this game. There is not just one way. How I play and how Alme plays, totally different. For me, I don't like being around those greens. I tend to have a lot of strokes that are right around the greens because I try and get a little too cute, or, I try and, play it a little too close to the hole. But this past season, I was clubbing up. And while it's not the most attractive play in the world, my greens in regulation went up dramatically this past season. And I think it's really just a mental thing of you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be 12 feet, but we do want to be hitting the greens. Greens in regulation, your score is really going to drop. And so, that's my opinion on this. I think clubbing up is something you're seeing a lot more now. You're seeing it on tour also. These guys are, really trying to get as close to the green as possible, but they have great touch. And I think a lot of amateurs don't understand how much time goes into working on that short game and how good these guys and gals really are around the greens. And bump and run is just as good. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with bump and run. It's a great tool. It's another one to just have in the belt.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I've used a 4 hybrid. I've used my 8, my 9 iron. I've actually even used my 4 hybrid for a very, very, very long putt. So yeah, I mean, you'll know. Somebody just recently asked me, like, "Oh, Almay, what do you use for this shot?" It was their ball, and I said, well, what I would use would not be what you would use. So let me ask you, what club do you feel most comfortable with?" And she was like, "I don't really know." And I said, "Well, just try it. It's fine. Nothing's going to happen once you take out the club. And guess what? No one's behind us right now. So if you'd like to hit a second shot with a different club and try it, then go for it." But I always find it interesting when people ask, like, "Oh, what club do you use for that?" Well, I mean, Max, no way I can hit like you, and you're half my age. So so it's just different for everyone.
Oh, it's totally different. And, I tend to like to play a higher degree, higher ball flight, landing a little softer. That's just my personal opinion on it. I haven't gotten the touch of, using a 4 hybrid or something like that, really using the bump and run method
Mhm.
as much. And I think I'm going to try that this season. These are all ways to get better,
Yeah.
and there's so many things you can do. I think going to your local course and just using the putting green and working on your chipping for 45 minutes after work, or in the middle of the day if you have a lunch break or something like that, can be really beneficial as well, because if you can eliminate those strokes around the green and you can limit the putts, you're going to really see the score start going down. I think it's also really important for people to realize hitting fairways. Even if you're not driving the ball, 200 yards down, if you're hitting out of the short grass, one, you're keeping the ball in play. So you're not taking penalty strokes, you're not losing balls. That's going to keep the score down. But it's also going to keep up that pace of play like we were talking about earlier. If you're just knocking it forward and you can find it, hit it again. That's what the game's all about. So let's keep it moving. So I want to talk about the scorecard. So I know, Alme, you haven't played an actual 18 yet this season, but do you have any plans coming up for your first 18 of the year?
Oh, my first 18 of the year. Let's see. Yeah, so when it okay, for winter though, I played in a winter league at Top Golf.
Oh, fun.
Shout out to Top Golf.
Love that. Shout out Top Golf.
It's actually the only way I can stay a little flexible during the season here. When we had a pretty cold winter. So what I found was that when you take a break, especially if it's 3 months of winter and then you try to jump back in March, it's like starting over.
Oh, yeah, you got some rust for sure.
Yeah. So I started a league 3 years ago with the winter leagues over at Top Golf, and the name of my team is When Chip Hits the Fan.
We love that. That's awesome.
And Max is actually one of our subs, so it's great when he comes out because he's kind of like our ringer. But it's really nice, and all the people that play in my league are also people I happen to play golf with on the on season. So when it comes to courses coming up, I also play in another league over at Paint Branch Golf Course in College Park, but in their sim. So they have a TrackMan there.
Yeah, I've seen that. So you can rent, the TrackMan over there, get all of your information. I haven't done it yet, but it's a really awesome resource as well.
Yeah,
So-
and it's not that very expensive. And I just happened to play a 9-hole scramble league with ladies, and that once again, keeping me flexible, keeping the camaraderie. I've actually met quite a few new people, so that's been really great. And my playing partner happens to be a college student where you go to school. So she's in her senior year, and golf is her whole family plays, but golf is kind of new to her. So it's kind of fun to play with someone young, especially a female who's interested in playing, so that she kind of already knows, like, once she starts to get into the job market, she will probably be asked to play at work events.
Yeah. So you bring up a great point, which is like the community around here that's really revolved around golf and how we've been able to, kind of build this community over the years. What ways has this community really helped you out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not originally from the area. I moved to Maryland 15 years ago, but I'm actually from the Midwest, if you can't already tell by my Midwestern accent. So I moved here because my husband is from the area, and just found Maryland to be a beautiful place to live. He hooked me on the seafood because he swore that seafood in Maryland is the best. So that's what got me that I moved here, and then I ended up working when I first moved here at a golf course, and I think I was the beverage cart girl, if I recall. I was the beverage cart girl there at Sligo when I first started, and I just met so many people doing that job. But the best part of doing a job like working back then as the beverage cart girl was the free golf. So you can like practice, you can play, and then all of a sudden the same people that are coming to your course, they get to know you, and then you end up building a community. So I would have to definitely say that the majority of my friends in Maryland, now living here, I think I'm on probably my 15th year, are all golfers. This is the majority of my friends, and it's just wonderful to send a group text out to see who wants to play, and most likely you can make a foursome pretty quick when you have a lot of golf buddies. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to community, it's really sweet, especially like if something is happening with a golfer, like they're sick or somebody in their family falls ill, and you can really be a support system for your new golfer friends. But when it comes to golf, I would say, though, Max, golfer friends are different than your non-golfer friends.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. You want to get into that a little bit?
No, you can start.
Well, first off, I got to say, most of my friends have recently gotten into golf, which is fantastic. And I'm so excited about it because finally, after years and years of begging them to come to the golf course, we now have a text chain where it's a race to see who can get into the four. And there's definitely some times where people are left out, and it can get a little competitive about getting into the round and who signed up for the tee time. But, golfer friends are just so unique because I feel like if I go through the list of my contacts on the phone, there's a solid 25% of the people that if I text them at 10:30 in the morning on a Tuesday, hey, do you want to play, at 12:30, this afternoon, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to get the four filled up, which is pretty funny compared to some of my school friends that are, pretty locked in around 12:30, 12:45, and, either playing video games or, locked in the library somewhere. But it's very interesting how the two dynamics are now intertwining for me, and how awesome it is to see my friends just falling in love with the game that we've loved for such a long time.
Max, I'm starting to wonder if your 25 friends are all over the age of 65 and retired, if they can make it to the course at 12:30.
And that's the other funny thing is my phone has such an interesting number of contacts of different, or, a different range of ages, which is really funny. And yes, I think it's also played into the fact that I'm a bit of an old soul now because I've just played so much golf with people older than I am that, I guess it rubs off.
Yeah. But, the majority of golfers that are out there and that are available during the day are people who are retired.
Oh, most definitely.
And I would say also, if you work from home, then you can kind of slip away during your lunch hour and maybe play a quick 9 before your next meeting. Now, I've also played golf with many people who do their meetings on the golf course, which I haven't figured out if that's my pet peeve yet. But as long as they take their calls in the cart and maybe miss like playing that hole, as opposed to like having their phone on their ear while they're putting and talking. So that I've seen that too, and I think that doesn't bother me now like it used to bother me, but I think you should take your calls away at the cart and just skip the hole. Your thoughts?
Oh, well, I only have one example with it where there was an individual who owned a small business and ended up having a business phone call on the putting green. Um, Mind you, I have a very good relationship with this person. Um, they're fantastic. I love them to death. So it didn't bother me one bit. It also we weren't playing a match. We were just out there having a good time. So I don't really have a problem with it. What I don't love though are the guys that come out there and they don't introduce themselves. They have their AirPods in and they're just kind of locked into their own world. Um, Again, it doesn't take a lot to come say hello, introduce yourself. And if you're on the phone or you're on the business, you're in, on a Zoom call or business meeting, Teams call, that's your business. But definitely don't be talking on the putting greens. I think that's a big no-no. If somebody else is putting and your phone goes off, go take it somewhere else. Don't answer the call on the putting green. But I actually haven't seen that happen in a sense where I didn't really know the person very well. So, uh, with that situation, I think you do the best that you can, but you understand, look, they're running their own business here. It's going to happen sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
So, speaking of, have you had any bad pairings recently?
No. Actually, I love the pairing. I will say that I am a connector. Personality wise, I'm a connector. I love meeting people. I love getting to know their backgrounds. I love knowing what brought them to the sport of playing golf. I will say that my most memorable pairing, and I've had quite a few. Mostly, it had to do with anger, but my most recent one, which was just years ago, was playing with our friend Laura, and she and I were just having a great time playing and and we were playing with one gentleman who really just got angry, like at every hole. We weren't really sure what was going on, and at the very toward he didn't talk much either, and he was in his own separate cart, and we were in ours. So at one of the holes towards the end, probably hole 16. I remember it was 16 at Hampshire Greens. I just finally asked him, like, "Hey, man, like, what do you do for a living?" After watching him have like huge these moments of anger on the course, yelling, at himself. Uh, he actually said that he was like a mental health psychiatrist or something, or psychologist. So he he helps guess he helps other people with their anger management issues. So Laura and I were just dying, because it was obvious to us that he probably needed someone to talk to as well. But maybe golf is just, like I said, golf is one of those things where you can get out and just get that out of your system. It's a great way to, I find golf to be very meditative, but it's more meditative when you're playing with really like nice people.
I see that also. You have these people who are so incredibly positive to other people and then so incredibly hard on themselves. And I've never really understood how that works, how they can just beat themselves up so much and have such negative thoughts about themselves. And then in the next 5 seconds, be praising you about how well you're doing and how great, you're playing. It's just very funny to me. I've never really understood it, but I'm also one of the fiery ones. So the roller coaster of the round, you do the best that you can. Um, I want to talk about one of the interesting experiences. And I want to say, in Montgomery County, it's very, very rare that I would say you have a bad pairing. I mean, I have been playing out here, at least once a week for a couple of years now, probably going on 4 years. Um, and being paired up with everybody, from different backgrounds, different ages, different locations from where they're from. Everybody has been, pretty great, and every once in a while you have a bad apple, but especially in the local area, I got to say, you just don't be afraid to go out and play and meet new people because there's a lot of great people out here and you can really build your own community, from playing this public golf course. And you don't necessarily need to pay all this money for a private, club to have that connection. You can find that out there. You really can. And the courses are, whatever you're looking for from, easy par 3 executive courses to, almost, I would say probably not championship courses, but pretty close. I mean, Little Bennett is one heck of a track. They have the Maryland Amateur out there every now and then. They do U.S. Open qualifiers every now and then.
Yeah,
So,
I think Worthington Manor too does a lot of the
Yeah.
USGA qualifiers as well. But I don't know if you know how I feel about Little Bennett. Ugh, like I can't even. I'm speechless. I can't stand it. I nothing against Little Bennett. I mean,
it's beautiful.
nothing against Little Bennett.
It is a beautiful track out there. If you catch it on a sunny Saturday afternoon, it is gorgeous. Hard as heck.
Okay, Max, I don't care how sunny it is and how gorgeous the day is. It does not remove you from the fact that almost every shot at Little Bennett is blind.
Blind on the side of a mountain. And then if you get a flat putt on Little Bennett, go buy a Powerball ticket. Seriously.
Yes,
Seriously.
yes.
If you find a flat putt on any of those greens, go buy a Powerball ticket because that is rare. Everything is moving. Everything is sliding. It's pretty funny. In my family, I love taking my dad out to play courses and, being part of the company for a while and having the benefits of playing, we were able to utilize and go out and play some of those courses up county. He will not go back.
Yeah.
He will not go back to Little Bennett. From the first tee, he knew this is not for me. And, kudos to him because he made it through the round. He had a smile on his face. He said, "This was great. Don't ever bring me back here."
Yeah, you know what? I like your dad already. I'm going to play golf with your dad.
You should.
I mean, I think have we played together with your dad?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so, but one of these days we'll get a round in. But so he and I can talk about our
what we need to do.
Our love-hate relationship with Little Bennett.
Well, yes, you'll definitely talk about that, but we need to talk about that one time that you had me get up at 6:54 or make it to the course at 6:54 for a tee time. That was insane.
Okay, Max. Okay, let's circle back to the fact that when it comes to golf buddies, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yes, myself, my friend Laura, and my friend Christy invited Max to come out and play at, I think it was 6:54 tee time.
Tee time. We're teeing off.
At Northwest Golf Course in Silver Spring, Maryland, and we needed a fourth. Well, we don't always need a fourth, but we always book for 4 and see who can fill it in because that's what most golfers do. And Max kindly said yes to us. So Max, why don't you tell everyone what your girlfriend said about you coming out to play with us, ladies?
Okay, so first off, we need to let the listeners know, for me, to be comfortable playing, I need to get to the course about an hour early is my routine. I like to get to the course an hour before the tee time. Mind you, the golf course isn't open at 5:50 in the morning. There's nobody there. So it's really hard to get into your routine when the golf course is opening up and kind of looking at you like, what are you doing here? It's too early. So anyway, alarm goes off. It's about 5:10 in the morning. And my girlfriend just looks at me and she rolls over and she goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I got invited to go play golf." She looks at the alarm clock and goes, "Nothing can get you up this early. Only golf. Of course you're going to play." And just rolls over and goes back to bed. And to this day, this sticks with me because it's true. I don't like getting up in the morning to do chores. I don't like getting up in the morning to, go do activities. I'm not a morning person. I like to have a nice relaxed morning unless we're playing golf. If we're playing golf, all things are off the table. All things are off the table. We can go as early as you want, as late as you want. because we're playing golf. I love it.
And Max, remember how do you remember how bad the rough was that day?
Of course. I mean, it was 6:50 in the morning. There is fog coming across the fairway. I mean, it looked like an old movie. Like it looked like a horror movie. Like you could barely see your ball 15 yards into this fog as we're teeing off. And we're like, "Oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better." And as you get into the rough, there's so much dew that the second you hit, it just closes your club face. And the ground was so grabby and wet that it was like playing the US Open. I remember turning to Almay one time and said, "What are we doing here? Are we playing the US Open? I thought this was Northwest,
Yeah.
What are we doing here?"
Yeah, that was I mean, yeah, that the grass, oh gosh, whatever. Anyway, I mean, that's another topic for another day is like what times of day do you like to set your tee times? So we could definitely have that conversation later, but that day it was definitely dewy. The grass was grabbing your club. So it was really important to stay in the fairway. But most of all, Max, we had a good time.
Oh, we had a great time. And let me just say, if anybody out there does book the 6:54 tee time, it's lovely. You get out there, there is nobody in front of you. There, you're done with your front nine at what, 9 a.m.?
Yeah, I mean, because you can play super fast, and we happened to play fast, so we were, yeah, probably maybe 3 hours and 30 minutes.
I think we were done. I remember putting my clubs in my car at 10:02 and thinking, "Oh my goodness, I have the rest of the day."
Yeah.
I just played 18 and it's 10:02 in the morning.
Yeah, well, which means whenever I play golf that early and I finish that early, you pretty much can have breakfast twice. So, it's just the other perk of playing very early. Now, I will have to say in my earlier days when my dad and I would play, and I know that you were a baseball player growing up, I was a tennis player as a child, all the way from 5 to high school. And a couple times I would go out with my dad, and I didn't like it. Like when you're younger, who wants to get up that early? One, the grass is wet. I mean, and if you don't have waterproof shoes, oh my gosh, that's another story. But you don't have waterproof shoes, then it's just a miserable, 2 hours for 9, 4 hours for 18. So, but as an adult, I do like it now because you can get in and get out. If you have the first tee time, no one's ahead of you. You just kind of you really can speed through a golf course. And then of course, when you're playing with people who love playing that early, it's a good time.
I love it. Like I said, I'm not a morning person, but I love morning golf. There is just something about morning golf that is so fantastic. I love it so much. You get in, you get out, you have the rest of the day to kind of, do whatever you need to do. For me, I think you mentioned it earlier, golf is being extremely therapeutic. So for me, it's a great way to start the day. I feel like I get, really in tune with breathing. It has a meditative side to it. And you loosen your body up and you deal with a couple of challenges and you keep moving forward. So I think morning golf is just fantastic. But as I've gotten more into the work field, I also understand, going in and getting your work done for the day and getting a nice afternoon twilight round. There's some really great twilight rates, and you can play some really, really awesome golf courses. And nothing wrong with just playing a quick 9 and heading home.
Yeah, well, before we even started today, folks, Max told me he already played this morning and that now he is going to go play later this afternoon with his dad. Where are you playing today?
So today we're just playing Sligo Creek. It's our local 9-hole golf course. It's about 5 minutes from the house. So it's just going to be a quick afternoon round, getting in before date night this evening. And I really think these 9-hole golf courses are such a treat because of how it works around your schedule. There's always time where I can find, an hour and a half to 2 hours to go in and get around, or head to the golf course that's 5 minutes from the house and, work on some chipping, work on some putting for a half hour. I can't tell you what it does for my mental to have that back open this spring. I think a lot of us use golf courses as a place to connect and also kind of reset and disconnect from
Yeah.
all the other stuff that's bothering you. So it's tough over the wintertime when these places close. You know, I know there's some that stay open through the wintertime, but a lot of them close. So to have our local spot open again, it just makes me so happy.
Yeah, I bet. What time's your tee time today?
I don't actually know.
Oh.
I think we're looking for between like 2:30 and 3, but also I know Mama Bear is going to want to do dinner around like
Okay.
5:30 or
Yes.
5:45. So that's the priority, and also knowing that that takes priority has also been really
Yeah.
beneficial for me as well. And if you've made it this far, seriously, thank you. We know there's a lot of golf podcasts out there, and the fact that you chose to spend time with Bogeys and Blue Crabs really means a lot. Check out some of the future episodes we got coming. We got some great episodes featuring some local teaching pros, some semi-professional golfers, and even some college golfers who are from the area who are going to teach us exactly what it takes to level up our game. So don't worry about those bogeys. Keep swinging, keep practicing, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.